So if you look at the way that the Japanese government is handling the coronavirus outbreak crisis, many would feel that it is not doing sufficiently. I mean, it in terms of the number of deaths and in terms of the financial aids to those people who are affected, restaurant owners, bar owners, musicians, performers, um, theater, managers, and so on. Many people feel that the Japanese government is not doing enough. Having said that, the fact is, on the surface, as far as the situation goes now, the number of patients and number of deaths are low compared to other countries, and it could be argued that uh, this is because sufficient testing is not done, and sufficient tracking of people dying from pneumonia are not done, so that the numbers of the patients infected and the number of deaths are probably underestimated. That is a plausible argument. But on the other hand, it might be actually true that the number of patients and number of deaths from COVID-19 are low compared to other countries. You never know. We might be actually in a phase of rapidly increasing cases, but you never know. So this is a really crucial and interesting moment in the current affairs of Japan, and it is interesting to see that some people are resorting to the argument that Japan is a unique nation. This idea that Japan is somehow a unique, somewhat exotic nation compared to other nations in the world. This idea has been surfacing in the Japanese psyche for many years repeatedly, perhaps starting from the Meiji Restoration when Japan faced up to the you know challenge of modernization, and Japan tried to import many cultural influences and um, you know pieces of civilization from the Western world. But in this process, Japan came to the self-realization that Japan has a very different culture and history compared to European and nations and the United States, and so from that realization came this idea that Japan is somehow a unique country. So in this era of modernization, this ethos, this underlying mindset has been very active in the Japanese society. So again, in this coronavirus crisis, I see this feeling that Japan is somehow a very unique nation is resurfacing. And some people use it to justify the perceivedly insufficient um, actions of the Japanese government. Because Japan is a unique country, maybe the government can afford to be this low and this late in this reaction to the crisis. And yet, other people um, criticize the Japanese government's reactions in terms of Japan being unique and in the sense of limitations coming from cultural and historical background, so that the reason why the Japanese government cannot do sufficient, actions in this crisis is because Japan is a uniquely positioned and uniquely constrained nation. So from both sides, those who are supporting the Japanese government and those who are criticizing its actions, this argument, this underlying ethos of Japan being a unique country is again resurfacing. So it is really interesting because the coronavirus outbreak is a medical condition, right? I mean, it's something that is related to microbiology, nanobiology, and and transmission and population dynamics and so on. So it's a universal phenomenon, and yet in facing up to this very universal phenomenon, which can be approached scientifically, we see this resurgence of Japan being a unique nation argument, and again, and it's really interesting and where we see it. where this you know zeitgeist would lead us. And anyway, I will be really extremely careful about my own health. So I hope you will be careful about yours and your loved ones too.